Yes, people, welcome back to the channel. Boy Dan back again. Sorry I've been away a bit. Obviously it's Christmas period, New Year and all that. Yeah, obviously been busy with family and stuff like that. Also, my Mac keyboard decided to stop working. Some reason only the top line of the keyboard is now working. So if you look at your keyboard, everything under Q is not working and everything above Q is working. I don't know why this has happened. I've looked it up. I've been trying to work it out all day, trying to fix it. Happened before. This happened at like 20th of December, I think, or just after my last video posted. The keyboard started acting up. I've tried all these ways to fix it. I've tried resetting the system settings. I've tried going to system preferences, restarting it, doing resets, but I don't know. I think the keyboard's just finished basically. But I don't know if anyone knows about Mac keyboard. It's a wired keyboard. Here, I'll show you. This is my keyboard. If anyone knows about how to fix these keyboards, then let me know. One solution said to get the extension lead, USB extension lead out and plug it in. I've tried that, doesn't work. Anyway, I've ordered a cheap some cheap keyboard from Argos which is compatible with Mac, so I'll just have to get that for now until I can get me another proper Mac keyboard. But yeah, man, so yeah, sorry, been a bit delayed because of that. But yeah, back with another reaction. Today I'm going to be reacting to one of the most requested videos that usually get asked for, and that's 9 shocking facts from the Quran, and that's from the Merciful Servant channel. So yeah, I mean, let's get to it. Probably wondering how I'm managing to use this keyboard right now. I'm not really managing. I'm having to use like an onboard click keyboard. Let me show you quickly. So if you can see on my screen, this is the keyboard I'm having to use. I have to click the letters in order to type stuff. Look, E, D, because on my actual keyboard, the top line works, but basically under the letter Q, all of these do not work, and the spacebar. So I'm having to use this to type. So in order to like obviously go on YouTube, and I'm gonna have to use this keyboard to edit as well, which is obviously gonna be a difficult and long process. But hey ho, I've had this Mac and keyboard about, I think, 5 years now, so I guess it's just a bit worn out, I suppose. But yeah, anyway, let's get into it. 9 shocking facts from the Quran. So yeah, this is 9 shocking facts from the Quran. It is on the Merciful Servant YouTube channel. It has 1,798,000 views. Oh, that reminds me actually, if you guys could get me up to like 1,000 subscribers, I think I'm on like 430 something at the moment. If I can get up to 1,000 subscribers, that means I could earn a bit of money, from YouTube, a little bit of ad revenue and whatever. Maybe get myself a proper keyboard. I mean, a new keyboard, I'll get this cheap one coming, which will do the job fine, but But yeah, man, get me up to 1,000 subscribers. That would be great. I'm getting loads of likes, loads of comments. I'm loving it all. I try to react to everyone's, but I can't always do it. Yeah, let's go. 9 shocking facts from the Quran. Like and subscribe.
Ever since the dawn of mankind, we have sought to understand nature and our place in it. In this quest for the purpose of life, many people have turned to religion. Most religions are based on books claimed by their followers to be divinely inspired, without any proof. Islam is different because it is based upon reason and proof. There are clear signs that the book of Islam, the Quran, is the word of God, and we have many reasons to support this claim. There are scientific and historical facts found in the Quran which were unknown to the people at the time and have only been discovered recently by contemporary science. The Quran is in a unique style of language that cannot be replicated. This is known as the inimitability of the Quran. There are prophecies made in the Quran and by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which have come to pass. The following are some facts found in the Quran. Number 1. Origin of life. Water is essential for all living things. We all know that water is vital to life, but the Quran makes a very unusual claim. We made every living thing from water. Will they not believe? In this verse, water is pointed out as the origin of all life. All living things are made of cells. We now know that cells are mostly made up of water. For example, 80% of the cytoplasm, basic cell material, of a standard animal cell is described as water in biology textbooks. The fact that living things consist mostly of water was discovered only after the invention of the microscope. In the deserts of Arabia, the last thing someone would have guessed is that all life came from water. Number 2, iron. Iron is...
That is really interesting, actually, because I mean, all life does come from water. All cells are water-based. Does that contradict with... Because obviously evolution, they say we came from single-celled organisms into larger bacteria, and then into fish, crabs, crustaceans, octopus, all the sea creatures. We then came out of the water and we evolved up through the different first through mammals, and then man came from the ape section of mammals. So I guess it coincides with evolution theories as well. But then obviously there is the Adam and Eve story, which is what I was saying in the last video, as to why the Adam being created from clay, that whole telling in the Quran seems to be really some kind of codified, like has some coded significance in it. Yeah, and really, really important. That's really cool, actually. I didn't know that they said everything comes from water in the Quran. Alright, let's go. Number 2, iron, or iron, as he says.
Not natural to the earth. It did not form on the earth but came down to earth from outer space. This may sound strange, but it's true. Scientists have found that billions of years ago, the earth was struck by meteorites. These meteorites were carrying iron from distant stars, which had exploded. The Quran says the following on the origin of iron. We sent down iron with its great inherent strength and its many benefits for humankind. God uses the words sent down for iron. It is clear from the verse that iron is not an earthly material, but was sent down for the benefit of humanity. The fact that iron came down to earth from outer space is something which could not be known by the primitive science of the 7th century. Number 3, sky's protection. The sky plays a crucial role in protecting the earth. The sky protects the earth from the lethal rays of the sun. If the sky did not exist, then the sun's radiation would have killed off all life on earth. It also acts like a blanket wrapped around earth to protect it from the freezing cold of space. If this temperature was to reach Earth, then the planet would freeze over instantly. The sky also protects life on Earth by warming the surface through heat retention, greenhouse effect, and reducing temperature extremes between day and night. These are some of the many protective functions of the sky. The Quran asks us to consider the sky in the following verse. We made the sky a protective ceiling, and yet they are turning away from our signs. The Quran points to the sky's protection as a sign of God. The protective properties of the sky were discovered by scientific research conducted in the 20th century. Number 4, mountains.
Wow, that is cool, man. You see, 1400 years ago when this was revealed, they wouldn't have known the specifics the specific details about the ozone layer, even the radiation belt that protects us from the dangerous radiation from space. So that is really interesting, man, because without the ozone layer, which unfortunately as a civilization we're destroying and which is causing the planet to heat up and sea levels to rise and wildlife to die out, and it's causing the whole place to heat up and forest fires, etc. It's cool. It's clear, man, from the Quran that there is the sky is a protective layer. I mean, I guess those who would argue against it would say that, they would say, oh, it just means, the sky protects us. I guess if you wanted to talk it down, you could say it protects us from hunger because it sends water around the earth, which allows crops to grow and allows vegetation to grow and animals to graze. So it provides meat and veg and rice and all the food we eat. So that could be what they would say protection is. But clearly the word protection signifies something a bit more specific than just providing food and obviously water as well, and the means of growth for everything on the earth. So yes, that's impressive. That is impressive.
The Quran draws our attention to a very important characteristic of mountains. Did we not make the earth as a resting place and the mountains as stakes? The Quran indicates that mountains have deep roots by using the word stakes to describe them. In fact, mountains do have deep roots, and the word stakes is an accurate description for them. A book titled Earth by geophysicist Frank Press explains that mountains are like stakes and are buried deep under the surface of the earth. Mount Everest, the height of which is approximately 9 kilometers above ground, has a root deeper than 125 kilometers. The fact that mountains have a deep stake-like roots was not known until after the development of the theory of plate tectonics in the beginning of the 20th century. Number 5. Expansion of the universe. At the time when the science of astronomy was still primitive, the expansion of the universe was described in the Quran. And it is we who have built the universe with our creative power and keep expanding it. The fact that the universe is expanding was discovered in the last century. The physicist Stephen Hawking, in his book A Brief History of Time, writes, "The discovery that the universe is expanding was one of the great intellectual revolutions of the 20th century." The Quran mentioned the expansion of the universe even before the invention of the telescope. Number 6. Sun's orbit.
Now that is interesting. As I'm sure many of you know, our universe, if you take it from the start of the Big Bang, is approximately 14.5 billion years old. And as far as we know, it's infinite and ever expanding. Some people theorize that it might expand to a certain point and then implode upon itself, but that's not proven. As far as we know, it's an infinite and ever expanding 14.5 billion year old universe. So that is really interesting. You know what it is with the Quran? Where I think for Westerners, why they find a lot of grounds to maybe talk against it is because to them, the language that's used, and we keep expanding it. I know, obviously, the language that was used to be most meaningful and all-encompassing for those at the time who were listening to it, and obviously for those in the future as well. So for those at the time, if you were to imagine a God, and in the book it says God keeps expanding it, you can literally imagine God just expanding the universe. Suns, stars, moons, black holes, meteorites, asteroids, planets, oceans, seas, animals, just expanding everywhere. So I guess it's a real, I mean, the Quran's descriptive makeup really I don't know, I guess it lends itself to the creative mindset of those listening to it at the time and now as well. But I guess 1400 years later, now we have the knowledge of science, we can really take those. That is really impressive to it, I ain't gonna lie. A word like expansive, or someone expanding something, which was then would be taken as God literally expanding the universe. We now know that the universe is literally expanding. That's like the most precise word for it. As we speak, the universe is getting bigger and bigger. So that's cool, man. That's really cool. The sun's orbit. Okay.
In 1512, the astronomer Nicholas Copernicus put forward his theory that the sun is motionless at the center of the solar system and that the planets revolve around it. The belief that the sun is stationary was widespread amongst astronomers until the 20th century. It is now a well-established scientific fact that the sun is not stationary, but is moving in an orbit around the center of our Milky Way galaxy. The Quran mentions the orbit of the sun. It is He who created night and day, the sun and the moon, each floating in its orbit. The Quran would have been wrong according to astronomers just a couple of decades ago, but we now know that the Quranic account of the sun's motion is consistent with modern astronomy. Number 7, the ocean.
That is really cool. That is really good. However, the Sumerians 6,000 years ago also had depictions of the solar system in their what do you call it? In their carvings, basically, of their gods. In one of the corners, which science love to ignore, you'll see there's a picture of our solar system 6, 7, 8,000 years before Western society even had telescopes. They had a picture of the sun with 7 planets around it, with the moons of those planets as well, and it's clearly there. But that's not to denote or take away everything from that, because to tell them that, obviously, I don't know, maybe the Sumerians knew the sun was orbiting itself as well, because we're all spinning. The sun's spinning around the galaxy, the Earth spinning upon itself while spinning around the sun, orbiting, shall I say. So that is really impressive, but it's not. There were tellings in Sumeria and ancient Egypt of the solar system and the planets rotating around the sun before that. But yeah, I suppose the Quran is specific to say that the sun and moon are also orbiting, they're also rotating. It's not just the planets going around the sun, the sun is actually orbiting itself around the galaxy. Yeah, man. I mean, it's very, very impressive. It is. Let's go. Oh, you know what? I keep tapping my spacebar and I'm wondering, why is this thing not playing? And I'll just keep forgetting my keyboard ain't working. I have to keep clicking the play button. Anyway, number 7, the ocean.
The Quran uses imagery to convey its deep meanings. Here it describes the state of the unbelievers as darkness out in a deep ocean, which is covered by waves, above which are waves, above which are clouds, layers of darkness, one upon the other. When one puts out his hand therein, he can hardly see it. Those God gives no light to, they have no light. It is commonly thought that the waves only occur on the surface of the ocean. However, oceanographers have discovered that there are internal waves that take place below the surface of the ocean. These waves are invisible to the human eye and can only be detected by specialist equipment. The Quran mentions darkness in a deep ocean above which are waves. Above which are waves, then clouds above that. This description is not only remarkable because it describes the internal waves in the ocean, but also because it describes darkness deep in the ocean. A human being can dive no more than 70 meters without breathing equipment. Light is present at that depth, but if we go down 1,000 meters, it is completely dark. 1,400 years ago, there were no submarines or specialist equipment to discover internal waves or the darkness deep inside the oceans. Number 8. Lying in movement. There was a cruel, oppressive tribal leader named Abu Jahl, who lived during the time of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. God revealed a verse of the Quran to warn him. No, indeed, if he does not stop, we will seize him by the forehead, his lying, sinful forehead. God does not call this person a liar, but calls his forehead, the front part of the brain, lying and sinful, and warns him to stop. This verse is significant for two reasons. The first is that the front part of our brain is responsible for voluntary movement. This is known as the frontal lobe. A book titled Essentials of Anatomy and Physiology, which includes the results of research on the functions of this area, states, the motivation and the foresight to plan and initiate movements occur in the anterior portion of the frontal lobes, the prefrontal area. The part of the brain that is responsible for movement is said to be seized if the man does not stop. Secondly, numerous studies have shown that this same region, frontal lobe, is responsible for the lying function.
Let me just bring that back a second. What do you say? If the man does not stop.
Foresight to plan and initiate movements occur in the anterior portion of the frontal lobes, the prefrontal area. The part of the brain that is responsible for movement is said to be seized if the man does not stop. Secondly, numerous studies have shown that this same region, frontal lobe, is responsible for the lying function of the brain. One such study at the University of Pennsylvania, in which volunteers were asked questions during a computerized interrogation, it was found that when the volunteers were lying, there was significantly increased activity in the prefrontal and premotor cortices frontal lobe region. The front part of the brain is responsible for movement and lying. The Quran links movement and lying to this area. These functions of the frontal lobe were discovered with medical imaging equipment, which was developed in the 20th century. Number 9. Pain receptors.
That's interesting. I didn't know that, to be honest. The front part of the brain. And Allah said what about the front part of the brain? That He said, no, indeed, if he does not stop, we will seize him by the forehead, his lying, sinful forehead. Wow, okay, cool. You know, like I've said before, anyway, I believe there to be a lot of truth in the Quran, the things that were predicted, the prophecies of Prophet Muhammad, you know, the insight that was shown from it. And it could be taken in other ways, I guess. Seize him by, why would they specify why would God specify the forehead? It's impressive. Not impressive. I don't mean to say impressive as like I'm some kind of like person to be impressed. I mean it's quite an amazing thing, to be honest.
Number 9. Pain receptors. For a long time, it was thought that the sense of feeling and pain was dependent on the brain. However, it has been discovered that there are pain. For a long time, it was thought that the sense of feeling and pain was dependent on the brain. However, it has been discovered that there are pain receptors present in the skin. Without these pain receptors, a person would not be able to feel pain. Consider the following verse on pain. We shall send those who reject our revelations to the hellfire. When their skins have been burned away, we shall replace them with new ones so that they may continue to feel the pain. God is almighty, all-wise. God tells the people who reject his message that when they are in hell and their skins are burnt off so they can't feel any pain, he will give them new skins so that they continue to feel the pain. The Quran makes it clear that pain is dependent upon the skin. The discovery of pain receptors in the skin is a fairly recent discovery for biology. It's found in the Quran. It is important to know that the Quran is not a book of science, but that it is consistent with science. To claim that scientific facts in the Quran are due to coincidence would be irrational. The best explanation is that God revealed this knowledge to the Prophet Muhammad. Just like the Quran contains knowledge about the natural world, it also contains information about the inner dimensions of our souls. It relates to our feelings, wants, and needs. The Quran informs us that we have a purpose in life, and that following God's guidance will lead us to inner peace in this life and paradise in the hereafter, and that rejection of His message will lead to depression in this life and hellfire after death. We shall show them our signs in the universe and within themselves, until it becomes clear to them that this is the truth. Is it not enough that your Lord is the witness of all things?
Alright guys, cool. So that was really interesting, man. 9 shocking facts from the Quran. Yeah, no, that, anyone with any kind of sound knowledge of science, you don't even have to have an in-depth knowledge, but just a general knowledge of like certain scientific principles and discoveries will have to acknowledge that there is a lot of truth in the Quran and these facts from the Quran that were revealed 1400 years ago. Some may be arguable to a certain extent, maybe like the pain receptors on the skin, maybe arguable. But I don't know enough about the history of biological, or history of like scientific biology in terms of when they discovered pain receptors to be on the skin. But I would assume it was kind of early. And also the one about the orbiting of the sun around the galaxy and the planets around the sun. Now the planets around the sun orbiting, that, as I said, that was no knowledge to the Sumerians and the Egyptians, but the orbiting of the sun, it was only really in later Western, well not Western, but it was only in certain later civilizations where that knowledge that the Sumerians and the Egyptians had, that it was lost and they assumed the world was flat and the earth was the center of the universe. Pre to that, when they had proper science, well not proper, but should I say when those initial high-level scientific civilizations were established, like ancient Egypt, ancient Nubia, ancient Sumeria, etc. When they already had stuff like agriculture, irrigation, they had depictions of the solar system. These things, a lot of these things which were seen to be discovered after, were already discovered by these civilizations long before. But that I just don't think was that the fact that the sun is rotating around the galaxy and we're all in one big rotation. Even the sun itself, even the galaxy itself isn't galaxy spinning amongst other galaxies in this universe. So yeah, really, really impressive that is in the Quran. Thanks for those who requested that video, 9 shocking facts from the Quran. I really enjoyed that, man. A lot of good stuff in there. What do we have in there? We had the cells being made from water and humans and pretty much all life on this earth being water-based. That's really impressive. The mountain thing is impressive as well. People wouldn't assume that the mountains are deep. I guess the description of a stake is, something you stick in the ground. So saying the mountains are a stake, yeah, I guess you can't really compare it to anything else. What else would it be talking about other than something that's deep in the ground? Expanding universe, that was really, really impressive, man. Because that's a scientific discovery that was very, very recent, with the Big Bang Theory and everything being an expansion of one certain point, which also ties into, the law of one, which I also study, which is everything is one. If we all came from one single point, then the expansion of everything from that point doesn't detract from the fact that everything was one and everything came from one God, one creation, one creator, and it expanded into everything. That's why sometimes I think when a lot of times people have like problems with Muslims when they say, or not Muslims I say, but maybe certain teachings of Islam where they say God is separate from human beings. We know God is separate, creator and the creation, separate beings, But if, like you say, like God has taught us, we're all expanding from one point, then the separatism between us, God, and even each other is surely just illusory. It's just an illusion. It's just something that we perceive in our incarnation as a soul in a body, rather than us really truly being separate. Obviously, we are separate. We have control over our own bodies and our own minds to an extent, but that separatism is something which is a bit strange, and which I find weird in Islam, that there's such a big. Because I know, obviously, the Quran, from the bits I've read and all these surahs I listen to, it's very specific that God is the creator and we are the creation. Do not align anything to God. Do not make any equals to God. And that's not what I'm doing at all. I'm just saying that if God is the all-encompassing creative power of the universe, how can we possibly be separate from God? And I know in the past I've said, in the law of one, they teach that we're all individualized portions of the one infinite creator. So if you imagine that the infinite creator is light, imagine you're just a tiny speck of that light, and that's a soul, and that's been put into a body, and that is you, In that sense, are you separate from the creator, or are you an individualized part of the creator? Because surely if we're all expanding, as science has theorized or proven, they would say that we're all expanding from one point and we're part of a 14.5 billion year old infinite and ever expanding universe, yet to be proven or disproven. It's commonly believed that this is the truth, though, and this has been shown to be the truth through Islam as well, and through many other beliefs, the law of one, Buddhism, Hinduism. But yeah, the fact that the expansion of the universe is in the Quran is amazing. The fact that the separatism between God and God's creations is so not severe, but it seems to be quite a drastic, clear-cut line, in Islam. That's something I need to really read more about, I think, and really establish how, the human soul and the human existence, how it works with terms of like being part of God and separate to God and God's creation and the creator and the creation. So hopefully I can, learn more about that in the future videos. What else was there? The sun orbit. We had waves upon waves under waves. That's interesting. There are waves underwater. There are underwater currents under the sea, which are basically waves under waves. Basically, that's also in the Quran. The lying in the frontal lobes of the brain as well, which are the places that operate our lying and our movement activities. Pain receptors in the skin, as I said, not too sure about that one. Whether that would be classed as a shocking fact. But a fact nonetheless. And yeah, no, I am really enjoying learning about Islam and the teachings of Islam. It's just sad that we as people don't really take time to acknowledge the knowledge that people live by, and because religion's been so abused and so misused by nations and for power, for war, for money, for greed, for domination, for oppression, a lot of people lean so far away from religion, and it's a shame because by leaning away from it, you're missing all the good that is in it, because you're so opposed to like the dogmatic side of you must do this, you can't do that, you can't go there, this is the law, this is how they did it, 1400 years ago they did this, so we must do this today, this is perfect, never changing. People get so wrapped up and so objected to that, and it's understandable in this world, man. There's so much like pain and suffering and death and destruction that's going on. Just look at 2020. Oh, Happy New Year, everyone. But there's so much, damage and destruction, and sometimes people look at the role religion has played in it, and they blame religion and the misuse of religion, and they see it just as a controlling mechanism. So, but yeah, no, my point was, it's a shame that by rejecting and stepping away from religion, people often miss the great things that come with the original teachings of these religions, of these books, of these revelations, whether that's the Bible, whether that's the Upanishads, whether that's the Torah, the Quran, whether that's the law of one. People have their kind of protective layer where they're like, I have my beliefs, this is what I'm safe within, this is what my family are safe within, I've grown up to believe in. I've only heard the negative sides of that, so let me not touch that, and let me just park that off as another belief that I'm not really interested in. And then you never really get to know like the full greatness of someone else's beliefs, So that's a shame, but I think that's a lesson we can all probably take on in the future. Be more open to other people's beliefs. Don't be so rejecting to other people's beliefs. Just because you're learning about someone else's beliefs doesn't mean you're automatically gonna convert to that religion or have to be in that space, or I think one of the greatest miracles of the Quran is that it was revealed to someone who had no ability to read or write. Now, if someone with no ability to read or write was able to deliver such an insightful, great knowledge, with your great ability, you're able to read, write, comprehend things, learn, study. You got the internet, anything you want to learn, you type it in and you find out. With your great knowledge, doesn't it just take a small part of you just to, let me put myself aside for once, a little small part of me, let me use my knowledge and my intelligence to see what I can learn and gain from other religions. But anyway, going off into a tangent now. Great video, guys. Great request. I really like that one. If you could name me some surahs that talk a bit about the soul and, the soul's relation to God, and how are we part of God? Are we intrinsic to God? I know we're the creation, but are we not? Can the creator and the creation be so separate? When it says here we all expanded from one point, this whole universe and all existence expanded from one point, that point being God, the infinite creator. So, if anyone could recommend me some surahs on that, that would be great as well. Hopefully I'll pick up my new keyboard tomorrow. Gonna have to try and edit now using a bloody on-screen keyboard, but it's fine. I ain't complaining. I'll just get it done. But yeah, guys, like, comment, subscribe. If you could subscribe, get my subscribers up, that would be great. More videos coming. 2021, hopefully I can get my 1,000 subscribers. I can start earning a bit of money off YouTube, and I can start banging out videos like twice a week, man. That would be ideal for me, man. I'd love to do that. Yeah, that's it for me. I've been your boy, Infinite Dan. Tune in again next time. Peace.